Pause for just a moment before making another financial decision today. Not tomorrow, not later. Just pause right now and stay here briefly. If this feeling sounds familiar, subscribe now before continuing this conversation. Because what you're about to hear may quietly change how you define security. Most people believe they are financially safe when nothing looks obviously wrong. Bills are paid, jobs are stable, routines look normal from the outside. But real insecurity often hides beneath stability, not chaos. It hides inside quiet thoughts you rarely say out loud. Take a slow breath and notice how your financial life actually feels today. Not your salary number, not your job title, not outside appearances. Just that constant background pressure you carry, even on calm days. If your income increased but your body never fully relaxed, notice that. That discomfort isn't imaginary, and it isn't personal failure. Nothing is visibly broken, yet something underneath never settles. This isn't panic, and it isn't crisis, but it also isn't peace. Most people assume this feeling comes from weak discipline or poor spending habits. They assume more control or more budgeting will eventually fix it. But what you're experiencing is structural, not behavioral. And once you understand that difference, everything begins shifting quietly. Stay with me, because this distinction matters more than income ever will. Let me describe a situation that may feel uncomfortably close to home. Not extreme, not traumatic, just very familiar. Two adults, educated, responsible, and employed in stable professional roles. They followed the rules they were taught growing up. They wake early every weekday, commute long hours, and return home exhausted. Dinner feels rushed, evenings feel short, mornings feel heavy. Week after week, the routine repeats with very little breathing space. One earns around $60,000 annually from a steady position. The other earns roughly $72,000 from another reliable role. On paper, their household income exceeds $130,000. Statistically, this places them above the national median household income. By most external standards, they are doing everything right. Friends assume they are comfortable and financially secure. Yet month after month, money still feels tighter than expected. Savings grow slowly, then disappear when something unexpected appears. They aren't reckless spenders or impulsive decision makers. They track expenses carefully and avoid obvious waste. They rarely splurge and often second-guess small purchases. Still, having 2 months of expenses saved feels fragile, not reassuring. Not a baseline for safety, but something easily threatened. One unexpected bill immediately changes the emotional tone of the month. A car repair, a medical expense, or home maintenance triggers stress. Nothing dramatic happens, yet anxiety arrives far too quickly. Because this system only works when absolutely nothing goes wrong. And that is where the real vulnerability quietly lives. We were taught that 2 incomes automatically create stability and safety, that doubling income naturally builds resilience and breathing room. The logic sounds obvious and mathematically correct. For a brief period in history, that logic was actually true. But systems adapt faster than individuals realize. As dual-income households became normal, prices adjusted accordingly. Housing costs responded first, rising faster than wage growth. In many regions, housing increased over 200% since the 1980s. What once required 1 income slowly required 2. Childcare followed closely, often matching or exceeding 1 full income. What used to be optional became unavoidable. Healthcare expenses grew steadily, becoming constant background pressure. Insurance premiums rose even when usage did not. Education and basic services quietly adjusted upward as well. None of these costs felt optional or indulgent. The second income stopped being optional support. It became mandatory fuel just to maintain the system. At this point, many people think they already understand the problem. They assume rising expenses alone explain everything they feel. That explanation feels logical and emotionally comfortable. It doesn't challenge identity or life choices. But this is where most people stop listening too early. Because the real issue is not mathematical, but psychological. Let me slow this down, because this part determines everything afterwards. Imagine losing just one income temporarily, not permanently. Not a disaster, not a tragedy, just a normal life interruption. A layoff, a health issue, burnout, or family responsibility. Nothing extreme, just something human and unpredictable. Now ask yourself one honest question, without panic or judgment. How long could your current lifestyle continue exactly as it is? Not with optimism, not with hope, but with actual cash flow. Most people realize the answer is shorter than expected. That realization usually arrives quietly, not dramatically. In that quiet moment is where the anxiety actually comes from. Not from debt, not from spending habits, but from knowing everything depends on everything continuing perfectly. When both incomes fund fixed costs, flexibility disappears completely. There is no buffer, only continuation or collapse. Every disruption becomes a threat, not an inconvenience. Stress doesn't come from earning too little. Stress comes from having no room for error. This is why stress increases even as income grows. Higher income raises consequences, not safety. More comfort on the surface, less forgiveness underneath. If this feels uncomfortable, that means you're seeing clearly. Discomfort here is awareness, not danger. Stay with me, because the shift forward changes everything. That second paycheck rarely arrives fully available for freedom. Taxes remove a large portion before you ever touch it. Childcare absorbs another share, especially during early working years. Transportation costs rise because both adults must remain fully mobile. Commutes multiply time costs nobody calculates. Convenience spending increases because time becomes scarce. Meals get outsourced, services replace energy, shortcuts replace rest. This is not luxury spending, but survival spending disguised as lifestyle creep. At the end of each month, flexibility quietly disappears. Yet mortgages and long-term commitments assume both incomes will last forever. That assumption carries the deepest hidden risk. According to surveys, nearly 60% of households lack 3 months of savings. Even among higher earners, liquidity often remains dangerously thin. High income does not equal high resilience. The system looks strong, but reacts poorly to disruption. The goal was never maximizing income at any cost. The real goal has always been margin, flexibility, and resilience. A life that can survive on one income changes everything psychologically. Not comfortably, not ideally, but safely enough to breathe. Enough to pause without panic. Then the second income becomes optional, not mandatory. It becomes a tool instead of a lifeline. Savings finally live there instead of being consumed. Emergency funds grow without constant fear. Stress decreases without income increasing further. Freedom grows quietly in places most people never protect. Choices return slowly, almost invisibly at first. 2 incomes are not dangerous by themselves. Losing flexibility is what creates long-term vulnerability. Security is not about how much comes in. It is about how much shock you can absorb. If this perspective shifted how you see your own life, pause with it. Let it settle before reacting. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this, without noise or hype. Because understanding structure is the first step towards control, and control
not income, is what real financial security actually feels like.